この服を着ますね。
え、
これを着ればご主人様に喜んでいただけるのでは。
何を吹き込んでいるんだあの奴隷商人は。
Much like Michio's first time, this won't take very long. So let's talk about this latest episode of Harem Labyrinth, or Harem in Labyrinth of Another World. So, as we're watching episode number 4, I think the very first thing that I can really begin discussing with you guys is, first and foremost, make sure that you do yourself a favor and do yourself a justice and watch the uncensored version of this. I think that anime like this, that is very much centralized around ecchi, although I think Harem Labyrinth of Another World, I think it is telling something pretty unique. And I think there is a decent, I'm not going to say great or good, but there's a decent plot there. There's decent character development. And Michio isn't totally well, I mean, I don't say he's a scumbag, but like he's not totally a scumbag or not totally somebody unsavable or somebody who you don't want to watch. Meaning that for the most part, a lot of these characters in certain anime like this are so timid, so dense, so afraid to do anything that they will get harems, or they'll have, a ton of women around them, but they refuse to actually take action of them. Or if they get touched, they like, whoa, and Michio immediately this episode was ready to go against the grain. Now, there are some things that I still am not the biggest fan of when it comes to him, but at least he was able to take his first leap into manhood. And kind of deliver on the promise of getting Roxanne and getting his slaves and getting his harem. And it put some coinage, he put some payment forth on what we saw originally, which was that time skip, where we saw him in the future with the child that he doesn't bear it, but he bears the seed and a child appears later on. So it happened pretty quickly here because he's really only been in this world for a couple of weeks now. And he was able to, get his rocks off here. So good for him. But in thinking about, how the hell am I going to talk about this episode? The episode is really just ecchi full. It was really just a whole entire episode dedicated to Michio and Roxanne's first night together. And that's completely okay. I think at the end of the day, if you're watching this anime, you're watching it because of what it is, who the characters are, and you have a sexual interest either to Michio or to Roxanne or to one of the other girls that are potentially going to appear as the anime begins to show us all the surrounding characters that are going to surround Michio. And whatever you're in for here, that's totally cool. I mean, we watch stuff to watch stuff, and, if we want to see this, then that's totally okay. So I've just struggled with, how do I really break it down eloquently? And I don't think there's really a way to do it. So let me just talk about what ended up happening. So first off, they're spending their first night together. Cool. The innkeeper knew what was up. He offered them a double bed as opposed to a 2-bedroom. So I like how the innkeeper totally hooked Michio up. He hooked it up hardcore. I love how let me say this. I don't love how Michio was freaking out initially about skinship. I never really understand that as an adult. Like, I totally get, if they're representing somebody who's some 15-year-old kid in high school who's, only seen women in a magazine or something, never touched or anything, I totally get it. But he was freaking out about skinship. I'm like, bro, you're in your 20s, whatever. Another thing I noticed was I love Roxanne's personality. I think her personality is really cute. Love seeing them go out and literally spend a whole day shopping. I thought that was really, really cool and really interesting that they spent a whole entire day shopping. I love that he felt tested when picking out her first outfit. I thought that was really, really cute as well. I like how he was pissed off that she didn't react when they were washing each other's back. I was like, bro, you're not completely naked. I like how she said she's hairy, but at the end of the day, she really wasn't. She just had hair growing back out of her neck, which we thought was her ponytail, but it was actually growing out of her back, and then obviously she has a tail. And And the next like 5 minutes of the episode was just a bunch of boobage. Then, she, before the act happened, she offers to get dressed in a maid outfit. And I like how there was a pointing to a little nod to the slave owner, for some kinks. And then our boy Michio finally just couldn't hold back anymore. And he went for it, but he was very, how do you say it? He was very soft and very, he took it in stride. He went 10%, 20%, 30%. 40% Michio drive all the way to 100%. And he finally got his harem otherworld fantasy out the way, which is good because one of the things I think if you guys watch my content or if you've ever watched any of my content, one of the things I always say is I always think that this, although this anime is very centered around ecchi and, very kind of borderline hentai stuff, I always say that our MC, when they're in these situations with the opposite sex, whether it's male or female, whether the MC is one or the other, whatever, I always think that there is this attraction there, and I always think like you got to get post nut, you got to get past the nut, you know what I mean? And I would whether that's the lady or the male, like you got to get past it, and I always think it's really good for the character to kind of like get it out their system. Get it out the way because then you can have a mature conversation, mature relationship, and be a little bit more mature as opposed to being led by your sexual desires that never come to fruition. So I like that Michio got over that hump and we got there very quickly. So now as more girls get introduced, that will also happen fairly quickly. And we can get on to the next kind of like story beat, story plot without this sexual tension that seemingly is just always there during these animes, which is one of the things I always hate. So I think that's the saving grace here. But overall, an episode that was what it was. It was very ecchi, very specific, and it accomplished what it was trying to do. Let me know what you guys thought. All right, my friends. See you guys on the next booby-filled episode. Peace.